You can imagine how unhappy I was, retiring in 1974 at the age of 38. The bottom line was that I was burnt out. Monitoring cannabis abuse had been an enormous strain. The experimental practice had been very hard work. I had never really recovered. But here I am talking to you. I'll tell you later how I survived. I eventually had to claim invalidity benefit for reactive depression. For occupational therapy, I took up amateur anthropology, financed by borrowing against the value of my flat, knowing that I could get free board and lodging at home, looking after aging parents when the money ran out. Among the cultures I studied was that of those abusing amphetamine and cocaine. So it was that I discovered that it was cocaine addiction, with its associated burning of the candle at both ends and lack of sleep, together with the perverted erotic fantasies stimulated by these drugs, that undermined resistance and lay at the root of the AIDS epidemic in America and Europe. As I'm sure many of you know, cocaine produces a superlative high. It makes people feel they are already the sort of people they would like to be. But it is highly addictive. It enables individuals to defy their fears. Taken regularly, people become more sure of themselves. They come to think they know more than they have learned. They think they can see the world more clearly. This clarity overcomes any doubts they may have about their abilities. They think they understand everything, and this gives them self-assurance. They come to believe they can do anything they please. They think they are very powerful. They then abandon themselves to this illusion of power. To give an example, in recent years, cocaine abuse has become widespread in the financial services industry. Mortgages were sold to people who could not afford to repay. The debt was then repackaged and sold on, and the profit pocketed. But since people who had obtained mortgages could not afford to repay, the debt was worthless. The banks lost a lot of money. Now we have the credit crunch, and the consequences have still to become clear. It is a pity doctors, who profess to be experts and pontificate about smoking, for example, never warned anyone. By 1979, debts amounted to the value of my flat in Earl's Court, so I sold it and moved back to look after my parents, with invalidity benefit my only income. But I had been permanently strapped for cash since being obliged to resign from the practice at Fulham. This had entailed the strictest economies. I had long since had to abandon a social life. The only friends I made were those who could help with my research. I could not, deeply regretted not being able to be an uncle to my nieces and nephew. I had had to live like a recluse. I might just as well have been in a Soviet gulag. It was all very depressing. To make matters worse, the police, still miffed by their perception that my prescribing had driven a coach and horses through the law, became increasingly aggressive. In 1976, they cooked up a register offence, and I was sentenced to 3 months suspended. In 1979, I had had to obtain some morphine, the ultimate antidepressant, because I felt so ill. When they discovered this, they threw the book at me. I was tried for unlawful possession, fraud, and goodness knows what all, and sentenced to another 3 months suspended. But on appeal, the conviction was quashed. I established in law the right of a doctor to treat himself with dangerous drugs, if necessary. Naturally, the affair was reported to the General Medical Council, who wrote to me in authoritarian terms. But by then I had lost all respect for professional authority. The professional establishment was routinely allowing the law, totally unqualified as it is in medicine, to tell the profession how to do its job. The council should long ago have put its foot down and told lawyers that no matter how mighty the laws of the land, the laws of nature are mightier. It is the laws of nature, rather than the laws of man, that dictate the course of illness and the effects of drugs. For doctors, the laws of nature must take precedence over the laws of man. I felt my probity was best served by dissociating myself from professional authority, and instructed the General Medical Council to remove my name from the medical register. Then, in 1999, I was criminalised for being in possession of cannabis after all these years, and fined £200. The matter was reported to the DVLA, and my driving licence suspended until I could prove I had stopped smoking. But by then my fortunes had changed. Father had died, and a modicum of inheritance was on its way. Withdrawal was easy, even after 25 years. But cannabis had been my secret weapon. I knew rather more about the drug than other doctors. Using it enabled me to stand back in my mind's eye and see circumstances, often suicidally depressing though they were, from a broader perspective that is denied to others. Only laughably small doses were needed, but I can say that cannabis saved my life. This is the last of this series of videos. Having failed to liquidate me by suicide, perhaps the comrades will put polonium in my tea. If not, I hope to be back in a month or two to tell you what I thought about during all those lonely years. In the meantime, thank you very much for all your ratings and kind comments. Here is a picture of me in my British gulag taken by my youngest brother. Bye-bye.